Testing 1, 2, 3. This will be the October 3rd, 2018 Community Redevelopment Agency regular meeting.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Community Redevelopment Agency regular meeting, October 3rd, 2018, approximately 6 p.m. Please join Member Osmer for a moment of silence and the pledge.
We stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. In the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, moving on to agenda item 3, which is citizens' comments. I will take residents first for non-agenda items. Non-agenda items. Okay, I'll take non-citizens. Hearing no city comments, excuse me. Close the citizens portion and bring it back for members' comments. Steve?
I have none.
Same. And I have none. Thank you. Executive Director's report.
We don't have anything to report.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to agenda item 6, and remember there is a revised addendum here at our desk. Moving on to 6, discuss take action on addendum to contract with Doubles Hoagies.
If you don't mind, Mayor, I'm just going to wait a second to make sure
Sure.
the folks are in the room. All right, so just in brief, what you have before you tonight is a proposed addendum to the sales contract for the Sally Beach CRA property located at 1604 and 1612 Highway A1A. This is the contract that was originally signed with Doubles Hoagies on July the 3rd. And where we're at in terms of timing on that particular contract is if we take no action tonight, we've essentially today is essentially the termination or the end of the 90-day feasibility period, which again started with the signature of the contract July 3rd. And then if there's no change, the original contract calls for closing to occur within 20 days of the end of that feasibility period, which would, be in a couple of weeks, basically. So we're, after a conversation with Jake and Katie Mobile Hill, the buyers, we have proposed, after that discussion that we had, this addendum that includes the following kind of key dates for consideration. Overall, the closing date would shift to December 21st as a not too pass go kind of date. That would be the farthest out date for closing. And there are other dates in here related to providing proof of funds that are available for closing and providing proof of financing. Some of those are in the October 19th time frame, as you can see in that document. And then November 16th is the date that is proposed there for actual financing being secured by the buyer for the entire project, for the purchase of the land, the bills, and all that. So that's where we're at from a staff standpoint that brought us here today. I know I've had a couple conversations with Katie since this came together on Monday about where they're at in their timeline. So now I'm just kind of laying out those basics for you, and I'll let Katie come and provide her comments and thoughts, I think, if you're okay with that.
I'm Katie Mobile, and so we have been talking with our bankers, lawyers, builders, everyone on the project, and it seems like from what we can come up with, 12 weeks from yesterday seems to be the doable. I don't know, maybe even push like a conservative, like pushing it a little bit extra. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Okay, 12 weeks from yesterday seems like a time frame which is still crunching everything, because we're, part of the project, we're depending on engineers, and part of the project, we're depending on appraisals and bank situations and SBA people, and so that puts us at December 28th. It's the end of December, it's Christmas. I mean, I don't know how holidays are going to affect all of that, but I guess what my question is that if we do all of these things in this addendum and we check all these boxes and we, by no fault of our own, we can't close on December 21st, then what happens then? Are we just, like, is that the end, or is there any, like, leeway, or is there, and I have some support here to back up some facts maybe.
Let's, our attorney answer that.
If we don't close by the closing date, the city would have the option of terminating the agreement, terminating the purchase and sale, so the whole thing could go away. I mean,
Or
that's
extend
the
it.
risk.
Correct.
Or you could decide to extend it at that point too, or you could do nothing and continue on to a later closing date. But you would have that option to terminate the purchase sale agreement.
Okay.
So can I clarify, because we've had some conversations, so like your request, part one is to move the closing date from what we've presented, December 21st, to move that to December 28th?
That's what, that, I know it's a week and it doesn't seem like it's that much better, you know what I mean, it's still on the same timeline, but that seemed to be what, it looked like November 13th was the date when we could get all of every single thing in the blueprints, like all the construction, like engineering, everything done. We can turn that over to the bank. The bank can start proceeding with the things that they need to go for, and then that gives them 6 weeks. I mean, Bruce was saying like 5 to 8 weeks was like, you know, so that's 6, so it's kind of even cutting it short in the holiday time. So I think that's what I'm a little worried about, is what if something happens in that time where it just sits on someone's desk because they're gone, you know, or on vacation, or
Yeah, okay, yeah, and that's just really been a concern, you know, from a staff standpoint, because when we started our conversation on Monday, you know, let's have good realistic dates, and that's what this started out to be, but then I know you had a meeting with your folks, and that shifted a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm
Let
happy
me
to
ask
answer
a
questions.
question to
but,
staff.
you know.
Given the week of December 25th with Christmas being on Tuesday, what's your staff, what's the opening of City Hall, what's our staff, people taking vacations and so forth? I just want to make this as realistic dates that we can all meet beforehand. And if we're closed the 24th, 5th, and 6th, is that going to mess us up for the 28th if that was a date that we missed? And if it is, here's just my feeling on it. I like the project. I want the project to go. So if it's the 25th or January 3rd or something that's reasonable, I just don't want to keep coming back for something that's a day here or there. If it gets out into another month, then I'm going to start worrying that even though the property is a contract pending, and it obviously could have a backup contract, I don't see that in people's minds. I see people see that up there, whereas the city really like your project, really want you to be there. So I just want to make it easy so we're not back here.
If you all want to make it to where we don't come back here, I would recommend the 11th of January because of the holidays.
And remember too, that's a close-by date, so you could always, if everything was ready to go, you could
Close
close
before
earlier.
But otherwise, in the holidays,
I
everybody's out and it's difficult.
Dominic, you have a
you know.
question?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, unless the city's under no constraints that we need that money by the end of the year,
We've
I'm
already
agreeing,
passed that.
I'm agreeing with Courtney's.
I'm with you. I don't have any, if there's not if anybody here knows of a particular reason why we must meet the end of the year, I would wait till January's. I mean,
Okay,
2 or 3 weeks is not going to make or break anything as far as the city is concerned, or it would make things, you know, and I understand that there's a lot of things out of their control. As we all know, when you have a lot of parties in there, it's not that you're not trying to make it happen, but banks and everybody else are not always as cooperative as you want them to be. As we all know, if you've bought a house or a mortgage or anything else, how that works.
I just want to say, do you feel like everything is kind of in it? Do you have any unthought of possible hurdles that you might think of that might even be a problem for January, or are we being? Yes.
My name is Jack Sparrow. I represent double homies. I just received the addendum actually a little while ago, and I looked through it. Really, I think all the items that we have, that you have in the addendum are acceptable, with the exception of the closing date, and I just want a clarification on one paragraph. So I think everything else, we can meet those specific hurdles there. The big problem, and you asked a good point, is there anything else? We have Bruce Reeder here with the bank who would be making the loan on it. The problem we have is it's going to be an SBA loan, and so you're dealing with the government, and that is the unknown hurdle that we don't know. If it was dealing with the bank, we wouldn't have a problem, but that's the reality of it.
Okay.
What I'd like to do, I mean, certainly if you want to leave the December 21st deadline there, as long as we have the option to come back and say, look, here's where we're at, we can extend it for 30, not to exceed 30 days, we know we can get it done. And what they're going to have to do, I think as you indicated, the city wants to have this here, they want to be here, and really what they'd have to do is maybe go with some sort of conventional loan, which they'd be able to flip it. It's going to require more down for them and more cash into it, but they would be able to do that if necessary. But this way it gives them a leeway. They want to get this thing open as soon as possible. And so certainly they have an option to extend not more than 30 days. If they have a problem with SBA, then certainly that's workable.
I think that's a great idea, because, you could just give me the option to give me the authority to sign that extension, if that's okay, and that way they don't have to come back in front of you if you're okay with that. So if you have December 21st and then have a 30-day extension if necessary to close, that way.
One question, I know
It's
Mark
up to
had
you
a
all.
question.
Or you could just make it January 11th.
No, you guys have come up with much better ideas than I was going to offer, so let's fly with that.
Let me just ask one thing, on the 11th.
Was this one. So will we have a meeting on the 19th of December, or do we usually cancel that one, right?
There's usually
Yeah,
one
we
meeting
usually-
in December, and that's
Okay.
going to create a problem, so that's why this works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me throw this out on the date. If we put in that date in January, you just said, what difference does it make if we put it in? It gives you the leeway, and if it needs to be extended, Courtney has that ability to do so, right, Courtney?
Well, if you give me the authority, you need to,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Expressly give me
Basically,
that.
we're doing that right now. I'm just trying to make sure the leadway is there for you.
right now,
that
they
would
The
would,
21st, if that's a date that we're not going to really realistically meet, I mean, if it's not realistic, then let's put a date down that's more realistic with the ability to extend it a few days to make the process
we
easier
just say
for
that the
everybody.
city and the buyer, the seller and the buyer can agree to a 30-day extension, as another portion of the addendum, or maybe just in addition to the closing shall occur on or before December 21st. The seller and the buyer both have the option
Well,
or the
if it's-
the buyer has the option to request a 30-day extension.
I'll let the two attorneys
Is that something
think
you
that one out.
I don't know that it's not cleanest, if we want to have the option of pushing it 30 days, push it 30 days from the
Push it 30
December
days.
21, because again, you can always close earlier, and they don't have to make the request. If they're ready to close, they're ready to close. If you're happy with 30 extra days, then just give them 30 extra days, and we'll close as soon as possible, and that keeps you out of the crosshairs too. If they come and ask for an extension, you don't have to say, well, what does the board want? They've done what they wanted tonight, and I think that's cleanest.
Better.
Does that push it to January 21st?
January 21.
Yeah,
Is that
January
a-
21st.
It's a
would be-
Monday.
Is that a Monday? Okay, that's my question. Yeah, we've done that before. Yes, that would be fine. The only other change I have, the only requested change, if you look at paragraph 1 of the addendum, it says, the deposit shall only be refundable if buyers unable to obtain financing or concept plan approval. Again, make it subject to the financing set forth in paragraph 8. So that, I want to make sure that's the financing, for the acquisition, just as set forth in paragraph 8 of the addendum.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You okay with that? He's just clarifying that we're talking about that financing and not another financing.
No, I'm just trying to, so the language you'd be adding is in that last line of paragraph 1. So it would read, the deposit shall only be refundable if buyer is unable to obtain financing as provided in paragraph 8.
That's right, concept plan approval, that's correct, exactly. And with that, we're happy and we want to start
Work for
going.
everybody?
Can I clarify one thing? In my conversations with Katie, it didn't appear that the October 19th dates in there were feasible. So can you clarify if you're saying those dates are?
So buyer, what date, this is October 8th, Shrink Hill, we can't, well, the 8th is what, Monday, I think. let's see, on or before October, shall provide sale with proof of current available cash on hand for this contract. Well, I think you have cash on hand. When you say cash on hand, what do you mean? You're not talking about the total construction cost?
No, that was just the cash you all had. We had
Oh, the cash on hand,
previously
okay.
about-
And
about
before
showing that now.
written funds, so October 19th would be available funds. Yes, we can comply with that.
Okay.
We can look at that.
All right, and then the last date would be in paragraph 8, which is by November 16th
That's it.
to have the
November 6th, wait.
the
November
financing
16th,
secured.
minute? Okay,
Okay.
we're going to put him on the line. He said yes. We all heard him.
You're on the record now.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Does that suit council here just for a second?
And so on
Suzanne,
the-
I'm going to open up for public comment, so.
In the to-go section of the new building, can you sell your ranch dressing in bulk? That would be, yeah.
All right. Suzanne, anything you need to ask before I open up for public comment?
Just real quick, procedurally, did we make minor enough changes that we could handwrite them and sign it tonight before everyone?
It would be preferable. because
Somebody who
our
has cleaner
contract-
handwriting than me, but sure.
All right, let's do that before we.
Right, yep, no problem. At this time, thank you. I'll open up for public comment on agenda item 6. Floor is open.
Elaine Fee, resident Satellite Beach. Yay, glad things are going to go well for them. Things have been nice. I'm hungry, I can go run and grab a burger, veggie burger real quick. I just want to say, based on the plan that we were presented last meeting we had, and a recent meeting about codes with commercial property by residential property, having to put a concrete wall up there. I know I didn't see that in the concept plan originally. I mean, I know it's part of our code. I just wanted to make sure that there is part of my property line that butts next to the commercial property that does not have any fencing there. The other part of that side of the property, the north side, I have a wood fence. I don't know how that affects the code, if they'd have to put concrete fence there as well because of that, but there is a section that does not have any kind of fencing there, so I would like to make sure that we do follow that code for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me get that clarified. John?
Yeah, we'll look at when the revised site plan comes in. The bottom line is any property, any industrial or commercial property less residential has to have a concrete wall, minimum 6 feet up to 8 feet tall, and it's got to be done by the developer. So if that's the case, then they will have to do that.
Would they also, so they would run it alongside the wood fence as well then? Because it has to be concrete there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's just curious.
It's got to be a concrete wall.
And you would have the choice of taking your fence down or...
Right, or just, yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Public comment still open? Okay. Hearing no further public comment, close the comment portion, back to council. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is that as revised?
As revised.
Second?
Okay, I have a councilman by board member Brimer, second by board member Osmer, correct?
Yep.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, Lenore?
Mindy Gibson,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Montanaro,
Yes.
Steve Osmer.
Yes.
Mark Brimer.
Yes.
Chairman Catino.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you, staff. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to agenda number 7, discuss take action on Civic Center renovation change, order number 1.
Yeah, just briefly, the Civic Center build across the hall, Phase 1 is just about complete. We have a punch list of some final fairly minor items that are being wrapped up as we speak. And this is the first, and I expect the only change order we're going to see on this project based on where we're at in the process. And essentially, it is an increase of around $13,000. The bulk of the increase came from unexpected plumbing issues that we found when we were tearing out the floor and found, old pipes that had, been there for 40, 50 years, whatever. So anyway, it was all kind of things that we didn't expect, and we took care of them because it was the right thing to do. And like I said, you shouldn't see any more additional change orders on this particular project. And it's almost done, and we can give you the grand tour when that time
Right.
comes here.
Which is normal for when you do a
It,
project.
this is still under the, this is still the lowest bid, even with this, I checked that.
Okay.
But it is, you know, with the, having to move plumbing, we redid all the plumbing under there, which was a good thing, because a lot of it was not in good shape.
My feeling, once you got it torn apart,
Yeah.
do it right.
It was definitely done right. They did a great job. I think this company did a really good job.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the Civic Center renovations change order number 1 with Watiga Company.
Second.
I've got a motion by Member Brimer, second by Member Gibson. At this time, open up public comment for agenda item 7. Hearing no public comment, back to council. Council comments?
I was there the day they were carrying out the cast iron, those big pipes that they had found down there, and I felt real bad for those guys, because those things weren't light. And, you know, based on what was done over there, I think $13,000, you know, it could have been a lot worse with some of the unknowns that could have been found, so I think we did a great job on this.
Great.
And I agree with you, they did a wonderful job on the project.
I think also it's important to you replace it now, because eventually we'd have had to replace it anyways, and it's better just, like you said, do it now and be done with it, and now we'll have a clean slate and hopefully another 40 or 50 years at least out of it.
I like the tile job, too.
I haven't even been in there yet. I want to be surprised when it's done.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Further comment? Lenore?
Steve Osmer?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Montanaro?
Yes.
Mindy Gibson?
Yes.
Mark Brimer?
Yes.
Chairman Patino?
Yes, motion passes. Moving on to minutes. Agenda item 8.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from September 5th and the special meeting minutes from September 19th as submitted.
Thank you. I have a motion by Vice Chair Montanaro, second by Member Osmer.
Yes.
Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none. Lenore?
Mindy Gibson?
Yes.
Mark Brimer?
Yes.
Steve Osmer?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Montanaro?
Yes.
Chairman Patino?
Yes, motion passes.
Do you want me to see this?
Any further business before CRA? Hearing none, meeting's adjourned. Okay, we need to